We spent 1 month traveling through Malaysia and Vietnam, and our costs weren't exactly what we were expecting. We made our way overland through Malaysia, took one flight into Vietnam, and then explored the country by road. And along the way, we figured out exactly where our money went. I'm Natalie Murray, and this is my channel, Murray Out of Office, where I share what it's really like to take a career break midlife, including exactly what it costs us month by month so you can plan your own. Let's dive into the numbers this month. This is month 10 of our career break. And if you want to see the cost for every single month so far, I've linked the full playlist for you. All prices in this video are in US dollars and they cover expenses for 2 people, my husband and I. Our budget this month was $3,000, but we ended up spending $3,800, about 25% over budget. So I'm going to show you exactly where those dollars go, starting with Malaysia. We started in Malacca after crossing from Singapore, then worked our way up north through Kuala Lumpur, Cameron Highlands, and ending in Georgetown. We traveled overland here this month entirely by bus, so that kept our transport costs low. Accommodation averaged $40 per night. Meals were around $8 for 2 of us, and our biggest splurge was in Kuala Lumpur, where we had a proper night out and took to the skies while walking through the Petronas Tower Bridge. When we arrived in Malacca, it was the start of Ramadan, so I would say the day-to-day pace felt a bit slower and more low-key. We didn't have many must-dos or must-sees while we were here, so we mostly just enjoyed walking along the riverfront, taking in the art, and enjoying being in Malaysia for the first time. There's a real mix of food here, but one standout for us was trying mala. It's a build-your-own soup bowl made with spice that actually makes your mouth go numb. And popular things to do here include the riverboat tours or heading up to the Taming Sari Tower so that you can get that 360 view over the city. Next, we made our way to Kuala Lumpur, the biggest city, where we had our favorite hotel stay and best value of the trip. We used our credit card points to redeem nights in Kuala Lumpur while staying at the Hyatt City Centric Hotel. It was a fabulous hotel, we were well cared for, and that was over a $400 value savings. By then, we were ready for a cheeky night out, so a couple of pints made their way into the budget. Grab is the go-to rideshare in Malaysia, making it easy and affordable to get around. We visited the famous Batu Caves, we took our Grab out there, it was really affordable and it's gorgeous with its golden statues and those rainbow-colored steps greeting you. We also toured the Petronas Towers, walking the Sky Bridge and checking out the observation deck. That for us felt like something we probably could have given a miss, or maybe we would have had a better experience if we went during the day. In between sightseeing, we just kept it simple. There was plates of biryani and of course the free fountain show in the evenings. After warm and humid Kuala Lumpur, we headed north to the Cameron Highlands. After a windy bus ride, we arrived at the Zenith Cameron Suites, and this was pretty pricey for just 2 nights, but landed us right next to the night market, which was one of my favorite food experiences. Walking through the stalls, there were so many amazing things to try, amazing smells coming your way, so we just picked up a few little things here and there and took it back to our room to eat most nights. Things like stuffed tofu, samosas, and curry chicken. We hired a motorbike for the day, which was a little bit more expensive than what we've seen in other countries, but at least the view of the tea fields and plantations were completely free to enjoy. Our final 4 nights were spent in Georgetown, Penang. And here we booked an apartment-style place to stay, which again was maybe a little bit more of a splurge, but it was such a wonderful base for us considering that we've been staying in hotels and homestays for the past few months. We stocked up on some groceries, and there were plenty of restaurants in the area, but we also liked visiting the hawker centers and food stalls for some delicious and affordable meals. To me, Georgetown seems like the kind of place where you can spend a lot or a little, so it all really just depends on the kind of experience that you want. We did escape the city one day, again renting a motorbike, and headed out to the canals and the rice terraces. We also stopped at the tropical fruit farm and took a tour. That was really fun, surprisingly fun. We did a whole video recording our experience in case you want to check it out, but it was a unique thing for us to have an opportunity to get kind of a private tour and to get to try so many different fruits that were local to the area and abroad. We of course had to soak in the views from the top of Penang Hill by taking the funicular, but alas, our time in Malaysia came to an end and it was time to head to Vietnam. From Penang, we took our only flight of the month to Hanoi, Vietnam. We spent 12 days exploring the northeast, including Ba Bay National Park and Cao Bang, which turned out to be both one of our highlights and one of our more expensive experiences this month. Meals were slightly more affordable than Malaysia at around $7 per person, but we spent more on tours and activities here than anywhere else on our trip so far. We stayed in the heart of Hanoi, which is the old city, in a hotel that was just kind of okay. We realized after the fact they put us in a room with no windows or TV, which was not what we booked, so we did get a little bit of a discount on that. It was just as busy as you'd expect, with loads of tourists just like us walking around, but still plenty of places to sit down and watch the world go by. We ate noodles on tiny red stools and enjoyed a tea as the train passed us by. After a little bit of shopping, we were ready to leave Hanoi for some quieter parts of Vietnam. We were first drawn to Ba Bay, which is home to Vietnam's largest freshwater lake. Tourism hasn't caught on too much here yet, and it feels good to breathe the open air. Our guest house was really critical in helping us arrange things like our transport to get there, a motorbike to rent for the day, and they also took us on a private tour of the lake, which was amazing. While more expensive, we enjoyed family-style meals at the hotel, which was convenient. But one of our most expensive transfers was from Ba Bay to continue north to Cao Bang. Near the border of China, the city offered fairly priced accommodation. We tried local dishes, food court style, and hired a scooter to get around. There were so many amazing things to see that were nearby that were very cheap or nearly free. One of the most amazing experiences was a day trip to Ban Zac Waterfalls, which straddles the border of China, and admiring the valleys nearby is free. We took a 2-night stopover in Long Son as we made our way south to get down to Cat Ba. That for us, I think in hindsight, I wouldn't have done that. I would have rather had just one long travel day to get there, but that's a lesson learned. We arrived at the ferry at a time where we could have to wait for a couple hours or just go ahead and take the speedboat, so we booked the speedboat. Staying in Cat Ba town is really easy, it's laid back, it's a well-trodden destination for backpackers, and so the prices and the things to do really reflect that. We, of course, wanted to get up and close to Lan Ha Bay, so we hired a private boat for a few hours. It was absolutely gorgeous and felt like a less busy option than touring nearby Halong Bay. Throughout our trip, a lot of people told us that we had to go to Ninh Binh, so of course that was our next stop. We booked in at the affordable Lily Homestay in Tam Coc, which has some of the best hospitality we've received anywhere in Vietnam. Bikes are definitely the transport of choice, and so that is how we got around for our 3 days. And we were really content to take in the beauty of the area at a slower pace. We had a spa day one rainy afternoon, which was a bit pricey, but when you consider everything that we had done, I think that it was definitely worth it. And there are plenty of food options in town. Ninh Binh also wins for the cheapest beer that we found anywhere while traveling so far, at just 27 cents a beer. At this point, we were feeling a bit adventurous, so we booked one last transfer, and that was a VIP sleeper bus, which went from Ninh Binh down to Da Nang, a 14-hour journey. It offered a decent amount of comfort, and it was nice to wake up in our final city in Vietnam, Da Nang. We stayed in the touristy area of My An at the comfortable Teo Apartments and Hotel. But this takes us to the end of the month, so we'll have to carry on with our costs from Da Nang and nearby Hoi An next month. So now that you have a good feel for what we did and what some of our day-to-day things cost, let's get into the full breakdown. Accommodation, again, being our number one spend category, we spent $1,100 this month on accommodation, and that was the most expensive we've seen since we've gotten to Southeast Asia. Even with the free nights that we had in Kuala Lumpur, it definitely adds up, and I would say that the accommodation was significantly more in Malaysia than it was in Vietnam. And for all of the overland travel that we did this month, transportation was still our second biggest spend at $780. Now, we only took one flight, but all of those buses and some of the private transfers definitely added up. When I was originally doing our budget, I thought that we would spend around $500 this month. And so with all of the moving around, that definitely added a bit more to our budget and our spend. For eating out, food, and drink, we spent $700, and I think that that's pretty fair considering that we ate out most of our meals, and of course we did have that night out as well. I will say again that if you are looking to cut costs, then not drinking alcohol is probably the number one thing that you can do while you're traveling. But still, it was fun, it was a good night out, and we don't regret it. As I mentioned, we spent quite a bit on activities and tours, $380 this month, which I know probably doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider the day-to-day costs, then that's a pretty big expense. We did the Ba Bay private boat tour, we went up into the Petronas Towers, we did the private tour in Lan Ha Bay, and so yeah, you pay for your experiences. It's, again, nothing that we regret, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Rounding out our spend categories, we do have our general budget category, and if you've seen these videos, you know that I cover this every single month, but general spend are things that are not related to travel and not related to where we are, but we still have to pay them. So for us, that's things like our phone bill, our health insurance, I still have a car that we have to keep car insurance on, things like that. So that was $500 this month, and that's about average for us. And then we have our other expenses. This was around $300 in this category this month. That included some shopping that we did. When we were preparing to leave from Malaysia to go to Vietnam, we needed to buy some warmer layers, knowing that the weather was going to be a bit cooler. I also had a $25 Vietnam visa fee to pay. Now, Jimmy is from the UK, so he doesn't require an e-visa to enter the country. I'm American, so I did have to go through that process and make sure that fee got paid in advance. And then we had a few other little purchases sprinkled in there, like a new SIM card, getting our laundry done, and some of our groceries, like our water and our little snacks for the month. Now, originally, when I set the budget, I actually thought that we would be in Vietnam for the whole month, and so that does explain why I thought that we would spend around $3,000. However, once we got on the road, things changed, and that's okay. You know, we can be adaptable, we can be flexible, and I'm so glad that we went to Malaysia also. But I do think that change of plans explains a bit more of our spend this month, as well as the fact that we are starting to move around a lot faster. When we first started traveling, we would hunker down for maybe 3 to 4 weeks at a time in a single location. But this month, we were moving every 2 to 4 nights through Malaysia and through Vietnam. We're getting closer to that finish line, and so anytime you're moving at a faster pace and you're moving around more, then it's going to cost you more. I did want to share a quick look at our month-by-month spend. So you can see that our lowest costs were about halfway through the trip, and that's when we were in Thailand and Laos. Since then, our expenses have started to steadily increase, and I do expect those expenses to continue to rise as we head back west into new and familiar countries with different costs and experiences. If you're planning a career break or just a long-term trip, then this is a trend that you might also want to consider and plan for in your own budgeting. But still, having spent $40,000 for 2 people over 10 months puts us right about where I expected us to be at this point in our spend journey. And I do think it's important to remember that budgets are great to plan to help guide your year off, but they shouldn't really limit you. For us, they're more of a guide than they are a hard limit. And if we go over, it doesn't mean that we're being really careless or reckless with our money. It just means that we want to enjoy all the experiences that we can while we have the opportunity, and that's okay. If you're thinking of taking your own career break or long-term travel journey, then I hope sharing this gives you a bit clarity on what things might spend and a bit of confidence to go ahead and prioritize whatever is going to make your own travel, your own trip really meaningful and enjoyable. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, thanks for tuning in to Marie Out of Office.